So to get a better hang of components, let's now create a function component ourselves. So to keep things simple, in the app component, I'm going to remove all the HTML tags except for the outer div tag. Okay, so we don't need this logo as well. Let's remove it. So now what we'll do is, first thing, you will have to create a folder called component, and within that component folder, and make sure that you're doing it within the src. Okay, this is how the standard is followed. So within the src you have component folder, and within the component you'll have a list of components that is being reused or made. So now what we'll do is we'll make a component called welcome.js. So welcome.js, pretty simple. What are we going to do here? You want to create a function component, right? How do you write a function in your plain JavaScript? So you write function, you write the name, then this. Now it should return something, right? What will return? Will return a h1 tag which says hello. Now if I want this hello to be actually here, so as you can see it's empty. Why is it empty? Because we just cleared our app.js, right? We don't have anything inside the div, so it's empty. But what if I want whatever is written within the welcome to be appeared over here? How do you do it? So first thing is that you'll have to export this guy. Yeah, so export default and the name. One thing is done, but will he still render? No. Why? Because we haven't still imported it to our app. So how do you do it? We'll do import, we'll write the name, we'll write the path. From where do we want it? So we want it from the component slash welcome. Okay, now how do you call it? So this is one way. Okay, welcome. This is one way of doing it. Since you have nothing passed over here, I'll tell what I'm trying to tell now is props. Okay, so we'll look into it that later, but now since nothing is being passed, we can actually do a self-closing. So you do a self-closing and remove this. This will also work. Both are one and the same. So now if we see our browser, do you see hello coming? Yeah, this hello is from our welcome component, right? So now assume that you will have to create more components like this. Okay, one is there for welcome. Let's say you want to create one more component which is buy. So how do you do it? So within the component again, yeah, so you do buy.js. How do you do? You write the function, what's the name, this, and then you return. What do you return? Again, say bye. Yeah, now again, will this work? No, you'll have to export. One more way of doing export I'll teach you is here. Okay, you can also export things from here. One way of doing things was export default and the function name. One more way is directly when you write a function you can export it. Okay, this is the difference between your default export and named export. So welcome is actually having a default export, and buy in the other case is having a named export. Okay, so now how will you actually make use of this buy? Where do you call it? You'll call it in the app.js, right? So now let's say I'm calling buy over here. So you see what is the difference in the imports? For a default export we do not require a curly braces, but for a named export such as buy we need a curly brace, correct? And this again you can do it the same way. Either you can call this way or you can do it even this way. One and the same. Now let's see our browser. Yeah, do you see both printing? Correct. Now assume that you wanted to kind of replicate this again and again. You can also do this way. Copy these, go on pasting them. Okay, you're calling the components again and again. See the browser? Yeah, now you understand why React is actually a component based architecture. So whatever is written once, right? Now you have welcome written once and your buy written once. But just because you are able to kind of replicate or make use of them again and again, it becomes a reusable component. So in real-time examples, as of now, I've just showed you welcome and buy, but in real time, you'll see buttons or the topics that we discussed earlier, your header, footer, side navs, those all can be a component. So you can actually make use of this in your root. Yeah, as many times as you want, you can make use of them. So what you're doing is you're writing code once, but you're making use of it again and again. This is one way of doing. I know this is not the right way, but I'm just showing you the cause of code reusability or the component based architecture that is being followed in React. Okay, a few things that you could actually make note of is here import that we have, you can either write welcome.js or you can write welcome. It'll take on its own, the compiler does understand. Okay, if I write welcome.js, there's no change, right? So you can write welcome.js by.js or you can leave it as it is. Okay, just understand that named export doesn't require braces. Default export requires no brace. Yeah, I was right. Okay, sorry. By is nothing but a named export. So named export will require bases. You can make a note of it if you want. Um, Named exports require braces. Default exports do not require braces. Okay, these are two things. So you understood component, you understood what are named export, what are default export. Okay, yeah, and pretty much how we can make use of whatever is written once elsewhere. Yeah, so one more thing what you could actually tweak a bit is here you see that we are writing plain JavaScript functions, right? You could actually convert this guy into a arrow function as well. So how do you do arrow function? Yeah, if I have to convert this guy into arrow function, you do const welcome equals and it says arrow. Pretty much the same, yeah, output. There's no difference, right? So this is arrow functions. Okay, so you can either go about writing your plain JavaScript functions like these, or you could also go about doing fat arrow functions. So across the course, I would be using fat arrow functions because those are pretty clean and I usually like coding with fat arrow functions. Okay, and that is what the standard is being followed. So make use of fat arrow functions every now and then.